everybody. This is Alex from Folk and Rock. Today, I get the pleasure of speaking with the amazing, the beautiful Chez Kane. Thank you so much for meeting with me today. How are you doing?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm very good, thank you. And how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
Okay, before we actually get into Powerzone, I wanted to kind of reflect on your debut album. It was released last year and it had such a huge positive response. So 1 year later, how are you feeling about everything and what the fans had to say about it?
Completely mind blown, if I'm completely honest with you. So obviously when you put out an album, you never know how people are going to react to it, how it's going to go down. So releasing that album was, I didn't know what people were going to say, but it went down really well. And it just feels like this whole year since that album came out has been a huge flash. And now fast forward and I'm promoting the second album. It's crazy. It's really
Hmm.
mad.
Yeah, that's really cool. Did you ever have any concerns about how it would be perceived by maybe an audience who wasn't familiar with that style of rock?
Oh, definitely. You always get these thoughts. You don't know if people are going to love it, people are going to hate it, what people are going to say. But it seems to be going down well, and we're trying our best to, to expand the audience, and we're slowly getting there.
Definitely. I definitely love it. And I think it's great to see artists like yourself bringing back such that kind of awesome 80s vibe back to rock music. Is that the type of music that you maybe grew up listening to, or how did you get into it?
Yeah, so I discovered like the 80s kind of rock at the age of 13 when heard Def Leppard for the first time. I became a massive fan of Def Leppard. I was obsessed with them. Then my sister loved Pat Benatar, so she had Pat Benatar playing all the time. So I got into like the female rocker side of the 80s then, and it grew from there. And I've gone on to love so much rock music. I love bands like Alter Bridge. I have a wide range of taste when it comes to music. So it's not just rock. If I love something, I love something, but it always stems back to my love for Def Leppard. So this is right up my street.
That's awesome. It's crazy that you mentioned Pat Benatar because I was actually going to ask you if you drew inspiration from her as an artist. So crazy that you mentioned that.
Oh, well, I'm really glad it's coming across that I'm inspired by her, so that's good.
Absolutely. Yes. Definitely Pat Benatar, Lita Ford, Vixen, that whole vibe is definitely in there.
Oh, good.
You have definitely embraced that female rock kind of 80s vibe style. As an artist, though, do you think it's kind of important to create in other avenues? I know you make music with your sisters, so that's a little bit different than that.
Yeah, so I think it's fun to change it up. Obviously, all my life I've sung with my sisters. I was born into music. My dad's a singer, so there was no escaping it. I was always going to be doing music somewhere. So I've sung all my life. It's always been fun to sing with my sisters, and I still see them every day. So we sing whenever we can. But it is really cool to change it up. So all these projects that I've been able to do. I did some stuff with Jim Peterick and Tony Hernando recently, and a band called Ginevra. And it's just really nice to be able to see what you're capable of as a singer. So I like a challenge. So so anything that comes my way, I always see it as a challenge, and I just enjoy it. I love singing. So
For
anything to do with
sure.
music, and I'm happy.
Mhm. Definitely. Was there any sort of moment for you where I know you said you were born into music, but did you ever have that moment of, this is really what I want to do as a career for the rest of my life?
Oh yeah, definitely. My mum said the second I could start talking, I was singing. So yeah, I've always wanted to be a singer. My dad's a singer, like I said, so I've always looked up to him. And then my elder sister started singing. Then my other sister was singing, and it's just what I wanted to do. And I knew that it was going to be my path. I'm very passionate about it.
Sure. That's really cool. I love that. That's such a journey and it's crazy. Would you say that there was any sort of challenge for you going from music with your family to pursuing a solo career?
I wouldn't say a challenge as such, but obviously when you've been singing with your sisters all your life, I obviously told them about the opportunity that I had come up, and they were so behind it. They were like, oh my gosh, Shez, you have to go for this. You can't turn this down. They're so supportive, and they're there with me all the time. If I get a bit of exciting news, the first people I call are my sisters. I'm like, oh my God, have you seen it? So they feel the excitement just as much as I do. So it was a challenge, obviously, changing over, and now I'm not singing with my sisters as much as I was, but and I'm learning a lot about myself as a solo singer as well, because when I was singing with my sisters, we'd obviously split the singing and we'd be doing harmonies together, but now I'm seeing what I'm capable of doing as a solo singer. So it's finding yourself as a singer as well. So I'm loving it. It is a challenge sometimes, but I love it. I love a challenge.
It's amazing that they're so supportive of you. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, let's kind of backtrack a little bit to the start of the pandemic. I know there was a lot of projects and albums that came out of that time, but there was also a lot of interruption for many artists. Would you say that your debut album was a product of that kind of time period? And did you run into any obstacles due to the pandemic?
Oh yes, 100%. So when Danny actually contacted me originally to do this project, the pandemic was like, nobody had heard that it was coming. So I thought that I'd be going to Sweden to do the vocals and all this stuff that was going to be happening. And then obviously the pandemic hit and I couldn't get out there. So we had to adapt the way we made this album. Quite fortunately, it happened throughout lockdown, because I think I would have gone insane if I had nothing to do. And I was fortunate enough to have the tools at home to be able to record my vocals and send them to Danny. So we were literally sending stuff back and forth. It did slow the process down, but it did keep me sane throughout the pandemic. So yeah, it was a bit of a challenge here and there, but we got there in the end.
Awesome. I know everybody kind of needed something to get them through it. So that's great that the timing kind of lined up perfectly for you.
Yeah, because I'm the kind of person that if I'm sat there doing nothing, I do drive myself mad.
Me too. I got it. Speaking of that time period, a lot of the albums that came out of it were kind of about frustration and anger or like really emotional issues. So your album definitely felt like a breath of fresh air in comparison. Are you and Danny happy with how that played out during the time?
Oh yeah, I am. I feel like obviously the pandemic, when it hit, there's a lot of music out there that like people tend to listen to when they're emotionally, drained, and a lot of the music changed over the years. So we went from the 80s style and then grunge came in, and music did become way more emotional, which it does work for people when we're feeling down and we want to listen to music to get our emotions out, basically. And I feel like with the pandemic, everybody was so low that this style of music was uplifting. It sure was for me. I played all the albums that I loved growing up, Def Leppard. It got me in a good mood, and I feel like it helped my debut album a bit because people wanted to hear that uplifting kind of music, and it is starting to come back with shows like Stranger Things and Cobra Kai. So I feel like it's uplifting. I feel like people needed it then.
People definitely did need it then. That's probably why it at least one of the reasons why it had such an amazing response, and why I would assume everybody's so excited that you guys are quickly following it up with your sophomore album. Yeah. Did you have a lot of leftover material from your debut, or like how did you decide to release it just a year later?
With the first album, I hadn't met Danny beforehand. He contacted me through finding me through YouTube. He wanted to start producing music, so he came across a video of mine, and he did have songs there ready to go. Some of the songs were songs that he wrote for his band Crazy Licks that didn't get used, and then he wanted to see if it worked for me, and it did. But this time round, he's written a bit more towards my voice. So I think that's the difference between the first album and the second album. He's gotten to know me and the way I sing a bit better. So I feel like you can hear the growth between the first and the second album by how he's writing now more towards how he hears me. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yes. Definitely.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
It does.
I kind of got that out then.
For Powerzone, are you involved in the writing process of it, or how is it specifically different in that way from the debut?
No, so I haven't written any of the songs on the debut, and I haven't
Okay.
written anything on the second album either. I
Okay.
did have the option to, I did give it a go, but Danny writes these songs so well. He's so tuned into this style of music that I've just left him do his magic, because the stuff he comes out with is magic, and I'm more than happy to sing what he's coming up with. So yeah, I think it works really well this way.
For sure. You guys are definitely a powerful duo. So good idea.
A good working relationship going on, and we've become really good friends now as well.
Cute. I love that. Was it, I know you said that the process was a little difficult and maybe restraining in the time of the pandemic, just sending everything back and forth. What was it like working on this second album with him?
We kind of went down the same way. So I know it worked out so well that time. We thought, why change it? So the only difference is that I actually recorded the second album in a barn. I know, but it was still at home. So you might hear some birds tweeting somewhere, but yeah, no, it worked out so well the first time. So we continued to do the back and forth, sending back and forth, but we knew what we were getting ourselves into this time. So
Right.
it worked out a lot smoother.
Definitely. I'm sure you had a grip on the whole process this time around, so there wasn't
Yeah.
as many issues or time constraints. Is Danny also doing the instrumentation for this album?
Yeah, so he's done everything on there apart from the saxophone.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the album, it opens with the incredible power ballad, I Just Want You. Could you tell us more about this track and why you chose it as the opening song?
Yeah, so I feel like it's got a bit of a feel of a ballad in there, and I thought it was a very powerful song. It was the second song that I heard that Danny sent to me to demo for this album, and I instantly got excited about it. So when I get that excited about a song, instantly I know it's going to be, one of the singles. And I was chuffed because we had to talk to Frontiers, and Danny and I had a discussion about it as well, and I was really pleased that became a single, and then I got to do a video to it as well. So yeah, I'm really pleased.
It's great. I love it for sure. Of
Oh, thank you.
course. And I would imagine that when you come up with these ideas for your videos, there's probably an endless source of inspiration places. So hair and clothing and even the arcade setting that you had for the things we do video, very cool.
Yeah, I
Uh,
know. we didn't
do
we
you
didn't really record that long in there. We were all on the games. We were like, okay, let's get the recording done so we can just play on the pinball machines.
it came out really cool. I love it for sure.
Thank you.
Do you feel like the visuals are an important aspect to your music?
I don't know. People have their opinions on things. I love the videos of the 80s. If you go back to like watching videos of Lita Ford and videos of Cher, I was highly inspired by that kind of stuff when I was younger. And I always wanted to be like these ladies. And I thought that I never could be. And now I feel like I'm kind of getting there with that. And I feel like a music video is just a bit of fun, and I had so much fun doing it, and I feel so empowering to be now in the category of these people that I've looked up to. It's insane. But I don't think it's important. If people like music, they like music. They're not going to think, oh, I'm listening to music, the music video is not very good, so I'm not going to enjoy it. It's just something
Right.
that comes along with it, and I've had so much fun making them.
I think they came out really cool. I'm sure a lot of people are gonna have a lot of fun watching them.
Oh, thank you.
Kind of a more fun question now. You've done a lot of awesome covers. If you could have any artist from the 80s kind of rock era cover one of your songs, who would it be and what song would you choose?
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. Oh, let me think.
I know I kind of put you on the spot.
Oh, that's a crazy question. Okay, so I would say let's go with Def Leppard then. I think it'd be really cool if Joe Elliott did a take on Rock You Up.
That would be very cool.
'Cause
I would
I
like
think-
that.
Yeah, I think there's some vibes there, and obviously I've been inspired by him, and it comes across in that song. So it'd be cool to see how he would sing that song as well.
Good choice. I like that. Okay, so you are going to be kicking off your first ever UK headline tour.
You know?
I'm sure you were so psyched about that. Could you tell us more about it and what fans could come to expect from these shows?
Yeah, so my tour starts a week after the album release of Powerzone. I start on the 27th of October, and it's a 10 date tour across the UK. As you can imagine, my stress levels are quite up and down preparing for it.
I bet.
I'm more excited than stressed, so that's a good thing.
For sure.
It's my first headline tour, so there are pre-nerves there, but I'm very, very excited to finally get the show on the road, because I haven't been able to do many shows because of the pandemic, and I didn't get to tour the first album. I think I've done like 6 shows since the debut, which is really sad. So I'm like, I've got all this energy built up in me, and I can't wait to let it out on the headline tour.
Amazing. I'm excited for you. I'm sure everybody's going to have an amazing time there. Well, thank you again for speaking with me today. Was there anything else that you wanted to say about the album or to your fans?
I just want to thank everybody, and thank you as well for the support. It's been great chatting to you, and I hope everybody's going to love the album as much as I feel passionate about it. And I hope to see you guys sometime at a show. It'd be awesome.